was one disciple who wasn't sure about that because, Jesus came from the dead. That's pretty amazing, right? So his name was Thomas, okay? And Thomas said, I'm not sure about this, okay? And that's why sometimes people call him Doubting Thomas. Has anyone ever heard of that before? Anyone raise your hand? Doubting Thomas? No? Okay. Anyone heard of Thomas the Train? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. Well, we call him Doubting Thomas, and it's kind of like sometimes it's not. I can call someone a Doubting Thomas when I think they're not being very hopeful or optimistic, and it's kind of like a negative thing sometimes to call someone a Doubting Thomas. But you have to think about where Thomas was at. And I think, why don't we try something, okay, before we get further into the story. Is there any Cameron House staff here? Cameron House staff, raise your hand. One right there, one right there. Okay, why don't we pick Chris Chuck here. Chris, why don't you stand up and why don't you come up here for a second? All right. Anyone know Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, he's that guy at Cameron House who works so hard. All right, Chris is gonna. You okay to help us, Chris? Sure. It's okay. Okay, this is gonna be simple. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is ask for one volunteer from you guys. Anyone want to volunteer? Kyle. All right, stand up, Kyle. Okay, Kyle. This is gonna be simple. All we're gonna do is you're gonna lead Chris to the exit. Okay, and then you're gonna make sure Chris goes out the exit, and then you're gonna stand right next to Alan and Gordon there, right? And make sure Chris doesn't get back in. Okay. All right? You understand? Any questions? And then you can stay there. Stand there. Just stand there and just make sure Chris doesn't come back in that door. Okay? All right. Go ahead. Give a hand for Kyle. All right. There's a future in that, baby. On that door. Okay, so you can close the door, please.
I know what's
happening. Just Kyle, you can stay there. Okay. So Kyle's gonna stay there. Okay. He's gonna make sure Chris doesn't come back in. Okay. Now, who thinks? So everyone agree that Chris is not in the sanctuary. Everyone agrees?
Yeah.
Right? You saw that? Okay. Now, what if I told you Chris is in the sanctuary? Chris is in this room right now. Who would agree with me? Really? Oh my. Okay, a couple of you, okay? That's good, a couple of you. Okay, good. So, most of you, it looks like you don't agree with me. And why don't you agree with me? Because of what you saw, right? You saw that Chris went out the door and that he's not here.
And down the stairs.
Yeah, okay, exactly. So that's...
Open that door and he's not there.
Okay, he's not there. Yeah. So it's understandable if you don't think he's here. If he's not, if you don't think he's in the sanctuary. Things happen in our daily lives when sometimes we just need to see it. We have to see it to believe it, right? Have your parents ever asked you hey, did you brush your teeth already? Anyone? And then you say yes, and what do? They come up. They check your teeth, right? Are you sure you brush? That's when our parents, sometimes they need to see it. They need to see that you brush your teeth or smell it to believe that you really brush your teeth, right? And so sometimes, it's normal to want to see. And with God, especially in the bad times, maybe we're not doing so well, it's hard to see that God is there with us. It really is. But what we need to keep in mind is not that we can't see God, but that we need to look in places maybe we don't usually see. Okay? When you look at your family who loves you, and the church family, and your friends, and that you have food on the table, and you have a home and a bed, those are all things that is God right there. So although God, maybe you don't see him coming from the the sky with a, with a beard or something. God, he's everywhere, and that's what we need to keep in mind to see, to see that he's here, okay? So sometimes we don't see it immediately, but, it's there, okay? So, who here thinks that Chris is in the sanctuary right now?
He's dead.
Wow, all right. Oh, man, this is excellent. Okay, did anyone raise their hand here? Chris is in this room right now? Pals, Chris in the room right now? Yes?
What?
Bad God. All right, well, Chris, if you are in the sanctuary, please show yourself now.
Peace be with you.
Thank you, Chris. Got you guys, all right. I'm going to close this in prayer, okay? Let us pray.